You know, a Formula One car is so much more than just an engine and four wheels. It's really a 300-kilometer-per-hour symphony of carbon fiber, physics, and pure human genius. So let's break down how these incredible machines are born, how they're evolving, and what, ultimately, makes them priceless pieces of racing history.
I love this quote from the legend himself, Adrian Newey, because it just perfectly captures the soul of F1 design. This isn't some sterile, by-the-numbers process. Nope. It's a creative one, where the next big breakthrough, it's almost always a complete surprise.
Because really, that's where it all begins. It starts in the mind of an engineer, someone trying to solve one of the most complex puzzles in the entire world of sports.
Yeah, before a single component gets built, before any computer simulation is even run, it all comes down to a simple human idea, a spark of inspiration that could literally be the difference between winning and losing a world championship.
But today, that creative spark has to survive a pretty brutal battlefield of constraints. Modern F1 design is a constant fight against super tight regulations and the relentless ticking of the clock. First up, the money. Teams are now operating under a strict budget cap of $135 million. That means every single design choice, every test run, has to be incredibly efficient. There's absolutely zero room for waste.
And it's not just the budget. Physical testing in wind tunnels, which used to be the absolute backbone of development, has been severely restricted. Teams can't just build and test endless physical models anymore. They've been forced to get creative and innovate in the digital world.
So, with less time for physical testing, the go-to digital tool for years has been computational fluid dynamics, or CFD. The easiest way to think about it is as a virtual wind tunnel, where engineers can simulate all those invisible forces of air flowing over the car.
And this is a perfect example of what the engineers are looking at. These complex, colorful lines, that's the airflow. CFD lets them literally see how the air interacts with every single surface of the car, turning invisible physics into hard data they can use to find more speed.
But here's the catch. To get really accurate, high-fidelity results, a single one of these CFD runs can take a whole day. And in the crazy, fast-paced world of F1 development, where you need to test hundreds of ideas, that is just way too slow.
Okay, so this is where a brand new player enters the game, an AI co-pilot, and it's set to completely revolutionize how these cars are designed.
The technology is called Physics-Informed Neural Networks, or PINs. Now, the key phrase here is physics-informed. This isn't just an AI making educated guesses based on a bunch of data. No, this is an AI that has actually been taught the fundamental laws of fluid dynamics. It respects the physics, which makes its predictions not only super fast, but also really robust.
So, let's put it side by side. The contrast is just night and day. The old way was slow and needed mountains of data. The new AI-assisted way gives you incredibly rapid predictions that are physically accurate, even with limited data sets. It is a total game changer.
And the impact? Well, it's pretty staggering. With this AI co-pilot, some F1 teams are already tripling their design throughput. Think about that. They can test more ideas way faster, cutting their entire development time in half. That is a massive competitive advantage.
And this new technology couldn't have come at a better time. Because in 2026, the sport is facing a massive regulation shakeup. I mean, every team is basically starting from a blank sheet of paper. The team that can iterate and find the best design concepts the fastest, they're going to have a monumental advantage. Speed in the design office has never been more critical.
So what's changing? First up, the cars are going on a diet. The goal is to make them 30 kilograms lighter, aiming for what they're calling a more nimble car concept, something more dynamic and responsive for the drivers.
The whole aero philosophy is also being flipped on its head. This chart says it all. Downforce, that's the force that pins the car to the track for grip in the corners, is being cut by 30%. At the same time, drag, the force holding the car back on the straights, is getting slashed by a massive 55%. The whole point here is to reduce the dirty air coming off a car, which should, hopefully, allow for much closer racing.
And to do that, we're getting all new active aerodynamics. In the corners, the wings will be in Z mode for maximum grip. Then, on the straights, drivers will hit a button to switch to X mode, which flattens the wings out and puts the car in a low-drag state for higher top speeds.
The overtaking tool is changing too. The drag reduction system, DRS, is out. In its place, we're getting a new manual override system. This gives a chasing driver an on-demand burst of extra electrical energy to try and set up and execute a pass.
But after all the data, all the simulations, and all the races are run, these technological marvels become something more. Their story doesn't just end on the track. They begin a second life as these priceless pieces of engineering art.
A retired F1 car can have a lot of different fates. Some are enshrined forever in team museums. Others become static show cars for sponsors. A lucky few are beautifully maintained for historic racing events, but the most valuable, well, they often end up with private collectors at auction.
And when I say valuable, I'm not kidding. The record for an F1 car at auction is held by Juan Manuel Fangio's 1954 W196, which sold for a jaw-dropping $29.7 million. These aren't just retired race cars. They are legitimate, multi-million-dollar works of art.
Which brings us to a final thought. We are entering a brand new era where human genius is being amplified by artificial intelligence. So as you watch the grid today, it really makes you wonder, which of these cars, designed with this incredible new technology, will be the ones setting auction records 70 years from now? Which ones are going to be tomorrow's legends?